went into that. That was their goal, right? And I think they didn't lose sight of it. That was the thing that they wanted to accomplish. So I would call that the theme. It's the essential bit of information. It was the thing that was being conveyed as they were going through that process. I couldn't see you because there's lights in my face. So I'll tell you, I'm just going to put these right here, and winners can claim them afterward, unless you're really thirsty, in which case you can come up. But let me warn you, they are warm. So. I think that's he said that there's a corollary to their goal, which is that it hides features you once knew were there. I think that's a byproduct, and we won't get into that, but I think most people benefit from that design. Okay, Windows 7. Anybody want to take a stab at the theme of Windows 7? Kevin wins. No wonder we work together. Not Windows Vista. Yeah. Okay, well, your Kazama branded Coke is waiting for you. Last but not least, I didn't put up there. Last but not least, the theme for Kazaml. It's not on there, but you'll just have to trust me that I know what I would think. So, not XAMLpad. Well, that's true. I guess the theme of defining yourself relative to another app is not a bad strategy, by the way. But that was not it. It's not a bad one. I'll tell you what it is. Notepad for XAML is how I always think of it. I always think it's got to be lightweight and as easy to use as Notepad, right? You open it up like Notepad. So I will keep this one. And actually, I'm going to keep this one because it's the original. So actually, I just made that up. I have no idea. Okay. So back to books.show. Let me show you the manifestation of the theme in that. So with books.show, we actually had a pretty strong theme. The theme for books.show is, as you might have guessed, reading, right? So that was the thing that I cared most about, is nailing the reading experience. So to nail the reading experience, I did a couple things. One is I literally downloaded every single reader I could come up with, and I tried to codify the way people are used to interacting with readers, right? So I bought a Kindle, which was a sacrifice, but fortunately Pixel Lab expensed that for me, so that worked out. And I downloaded like 9 applications for my phone, and I found like 4 applications on the PC, and played with all of them. Because what I realized is that I didn't want this to just be about reading, but I wanted it to be about great reading, about like an awesome reading experience. I wanted the thing that everybody came away with, thinking like, I can read this book. I can read a book on my computer. And in fact, that was my goal. I used to sit in the office with the guy, my sponsor at Windows, or at Microsoft on this, and I used to tell him that I will be done with this project as soon as I've read a book on it, right? So that was the goal, is that I can actually read a book. And that's the intention this week, by the way, now that things have calmed down a little bit. Let's see. Another thing, though, that a theme can do, a lot of times, is it can help you identify a visual style. So far what we've talked a lot about are like kind of functional themes, but also a theme can bleed over and it can become part of a visual style, right? You can have a visual theme to something. And in this one, I kind of had 2. For this page in particular, the theme was paper, right? And I thought, like, if you're reading, you should feel like you're interacting with paper. So we've got the paper drop shadow. In fact, I fought this. They didn't want to have, they didn't want to have the paper boundaries in the application, but I wanted it. I wanted it to feel like you were looking at paper, right? I thought the only way that I could do that. Normally, by the way, you don't have a column. It's just because of the small screen. But I thought the only way that I could do that would be to actually give boundaries to the page, right? Another thing is, if you look at the menus that we created, they all kind of have this paper feeling to them. So actually, let me show you a better one. So this is the configuration dialog, and I moved away from traditional style controls on this, and instead I went toward controls that feel like they could have come off a printing press. That was my goal, to make them look like they were printable. Those colors probably wouldn't work, by the way. I don't think you can print that orange on black. But another one is here. You can see, kind of the paper theme. But something to notice is this drop shadow. So I created these drop shadows that have this kind of angle to them. And the idea then is it felt a little bit more physical. It felt like paper that was being lifted off of the page. We get the same thing down here on the scrubber. We've got sort of that same paper theme. Then the other visual theme that was in here was this idea of a library. And initially what I really wanted was to do something like kind of what the iPad is doing for their library. I wanted a whole bunch of covers. We didn't have covers. And so instead I opted for this idea of a library where you're looking at it as though it were the library in your house. And we actually dynamically generate those books. So there's like a dozen different book covers in there. And then I dynamically go through and I generate the text, and we do this little weird algorithm to find out what will fit on each of the different books. So anyway, that is the manifestation of that theme in there. And so just to summarize what I was saying there, if you have a theme, it's going to benefit your design in two ways. First of all, it makes sure that you deliver a product that everybody understands, right? It unifies the design that way. And then the second thing, and I mean that at a functional level, the other thing that it does is it can unify it at a visual level. And honestly, you guys, if you don't have a theme, design is really, really hard. As soon as you understand your theme, the decisions become easier. Because really, design is a lot of that. It's weighing different options, right? So it's a whole bunch of different trade-offs between different constraints. And those are easy to make if you understand what your theme is. If you don't, those can be hard. Okay, you guys ready for the next one? So, design, attack, move. Number 3 is this. Be good first, and be new second. Be good before you're new. So this was a fear that we had with the book application, which was there are so many book readers. And to be honest with you, this was a very, very small project, right? So, it's not like we had the budget of Amazon Kindle or, something like that. It was very, very, very small, and it was essentially a one-man job. I actually got some great help from my friends at D2B and then another consulting agency that's based out of Israel. But by and large, this was kind of on me, so it was small. And my fear was that we were going to create something that kind of just came and went and that nobody cared about, right? That it was just another sample application and that we were done with. At the very least, I wanted to feel like I was proud of it and that I'd made my mark personally, something that I cared about. So here is the philosophy that I adopted and continue to adopt in that scenario, which is being different is good, kind of, right? Like setting you apart by being different is not a bad way to set yourself apart, but it's only kind of good. The way that you really want to differentiate yourself is by being good, by being the best, right? And if you think about this, this is something we run into all the time. I'll tell you a really quick story. Last year for Mix 09, I had a cool opportunity. So this would have been 2 summers ago, summer before last. They were getting ready for Mix 09 and starting to think about the marketing and stuff like that. And I had a friend who worked for the marketing agency that was doing the helping Microsoft out, consulting with them, figuring out the best way to kind of think about the conference. So I got to be an expert, witness, not a witness, I don't know what it'd be, but an expert dude, and talking to them about what Mix means to me and stuff like that. So they wanted to run by some of the marketing to me, and they had these 3 words, and I only remember 2 of them. One of them was inspire. You might remember them. Maybe they use them. One of them was inspire, another was innovate, and I don't remember the third one. Does anybody remember? When they told me those words, I loved the first word. I thought inspire is what you want to do. Like people should come away from that conference inspired. Innovate just rubbed me the wrong way, and I learned something about myself that day. And I thought, why would I not like that word? What is wrong with the word innovate? And I think it kind of has something to do with this. We tend to have this massive emphasis on this idea of being new, of creating something new, and differentiating ourselves by being new. But if you can differentiate yourself by being good, people will just assume you're new. And an example of that you're innovative. And if you look at every innovative thing that you can think of, you'll find that that's the case. Maybe the most classic innovation that we all talk about is the iPod, right? We all talk about how Apple revolutionized the way we listen to music. And I think that it's fair to say that they did. But they didn't really do it by being innovative. They did it by being awesome, by being the best. I don't know exactly. The iPod came out, I think, in 2001. I've had my first MP3 player in, I think, 1998. It was a Rio. Do you guys remember the Rio? That came out like 3 years before the iPod. But nobody remembers the Rio. Everybody and more importantly, nobody has a Rio, right? Everybody in this room probably has an iPod, or I'd say probably 80% of us do. So good is the most impactful differentiator. It's the thing to care most about. So I'll just tell you a quick story about this and how it impacted the application, because we need to get through some of these other ones. With this application, the thing about good is a lot of times it means that you have to make some trade-offs. And the biggest thing that I think that you can do if you want to focus on being good is focus on being less. And we knew that we had a very small budget for this project, and so my focus was to have a minimal feature set. The minimal feature set that we needed to have in order to feel like it was a useful application.